How do I handle a narcissist ex-husband in the visitation of children if I have the primary custody of the children? He is very manipulative of our kids. I get this question a lot. I wish I didn't, but I'm happy to answer it. I generally wouldn't recommend trying to get the assistance of the court to remedy this problem. The legal system is not designed to address this problem well, if at all. And even when it can do something worthwhile, the legal system generally does not address the problem all that well, if at all. Let's assume that if you were just given the opportunity to prove that your ex-spouse, and I'm going to approach this question as applying to a manipulative father or mother, let's assume that you could prove it in spades. With that in mind, 1, if you ask the judge to interview the kids, odds are the court will refuse to do so, coming up with all kinds of lame excuses as to why the judge can't or shouldn't interview the kids. Most of these excuses stem from the belief that a judge interviewing the child will traumatize the child. Yet these same judges seem to see nothing traumatizing about a guardian ad litem or a custody evaluator or social worker or counselor or therapist or others interviewing the children. 2, even if the judge were to agree to interview the children, by the time the court gets around to conducting the interviews, weeks or even months may have passed from the day you made the request of the judge to interview the children. In that time in between, the manipulative parent could coach or bribe and or coerce the children into saying to the judge anything but the truth. And if the manipulative parent is the one requesting that the judge interview the children, the coaching and bribing and or coercion of the children could have been going on for weeks, months, even years before. These are often 2 of the excuses judges will cite as their basis for refusing to interview children. There is some merit to these excuses, but the solution is not refusing to interview the children. The solution lies in mitigating child manipulation so that you can interview the children effectively. Number 3. But even if you could somehow overcome the first 2 previously described obstacles and the judge eventually interviews the children, you may find the judge's reception and analysis of the children's testimony to be somewhat obtuse. Not always, but more often than you'd expect. Responses like, "The children tell me that mom or dad is regularly disparaging and telling the children lies about the other parent when the children are with mom or dad. But now that I'm aware of it, I trust that mom and dad will stop doing it. So I'm not going to make any changes." Or, "The children tell me that mom or dad is regularly disparaging and telling the children lies about the other parent when the children are with mom or dad. So I'm going to order mom or dad to stop doing it and take a parenting class. That ought to fix it." I'm not sure judges who do this kind of thing believe it themselves, but just do it to create the impression that the matter has been addressed and thus dealt with. If you are a parent with an ex-spouse who manipulates the children in an effort to alienate the children from you, I have yet to find a quick, simple, easy, reliable way to combat and overcome parental alienation. If I did find it, I'd be a multimillionaire. There are many people out there who will tell you how to deal with and defeat alienation. A lot of this advice is appealing psychobabble. A lot of this advice is pandering to your fears, heartbreak, and anger. There must be some good advice out there as well. There are some common sense actions to be taken. There is value in meeting with a truly competent child psychologist to better understand the dynamics of parental alienation. It may be useful for you to see a counselor to find out what flaws you may have that you don't see. But other than that, I'd be lying if I told you I could tell the difference between the wheat and the chaff. What I can tell you is that trying to beat parental alienation through the courts is, for the most part, a major waste of time, money, emotional energy, and effort. Sometimes the alienator's behavior is so over the top that it can easily be identified and even sometimes easily misidentified. And there are some remedies that the court can take or should take in response. Otherwise, the best things you can do to mitigate and overcome parental alienation are those things within your legal, lawful, moral, and ethical control.